FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
We'll look for isolated evening thunderstorms. Low temperatures tonight will be in the mid-70s at daybreak. For Wednesday, a few scattered thunderstorms with highs in the lower 90s. And the outlook for Thursday, scattered thunderstorms with afternoon readings around 90 degrees. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority. The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when he signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pockets be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's the price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're itching for.
Well, that makes sense. Good evening. Welcome to the Armed Alabama Show for August 14th, 2018. This is retired Circuit Judge Rusty Johnston, your host tonight. I'm flying solo as Adam Strange has the night off. In this show, we talk about pistols, revolvers, shotguns, concealed carry, ammunition, training, and attacks on our God-given rights to protect ourselves and our family. Remember, we are Alabama's only firearm-based FM radio talk show, and we're going on, 2.5, almost 3 years. Want to thank singer-songwriter Buck Allen for our intro song there. He wrote that and performed it for us, and he's a real patriot. Visit him on Facebook at Buck Allen Singer-Songwriter, and that's ALLEN. Also want to thank the good folks at McCoy Outdoors in Mobile on Spring Hill Avenue, just west of the I-65 overpass, for sponsoring our show. See them not just for guns and ammo, but anything to do with the outdoors. Running shoes, fishing gear, camping supplies, anything. Plus, they have a active gunsmith there who can do anything from just clean your gun or guns to repairs to repainting. So see them down there. We're on Facebook Live right now, except the camera slipped down again. We'll get that straightened out. Camera person, it looks like to me the camera has slipped down. It's just getting top of my head, which is the worst part to get. But if you haven't if you like the page, you get a notification. But if you're like me, I've got 99 notifications. And so, go to Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5, and you'll see kind of a frozen picture down there probably, and hit it, and that starts up. While you're there, you may want to take a look at something I posted earlier today that I call it a round in the chamber. And it is a lawyer, internet lawyer. That's not disparaging because we're using this video. But he gives all the legal reasons not to carry a round in the chamber. And I think he's just completely wrong. He's planning a courtroom case instead of surviving a robbery or kidnapping or whatever. But it's interesting because it gives us something to talk about. Now, Charlie, on this date in history, 49 years ago, Hurricane Camille was intensifying, ready for its strike on the Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana coast.
And a little bit in northwest Florida.
That was the 17th, all the way to past Pensacola.
Yeah.
August 17, 1969. So it'll be the 50th anniversary next year. it's kind of sad for the memory of several hundred people that were killed because the Weather Channel and all those type sensationalized things have really got to push Camille off the front page. And it was one of the most intense hurricanes ever, but we
moved to Long Beach, Mississippi, 7 years after in '76, and we were about a half a block from the water. People on the Mississippi coast 7 years after Camille still did not want to talk about it.
I bet.
And down at the end of our half-block street, there was an oak tree, maybe 3 or 4 feet across, and a top rail of a chain-link fence had been wind-driven through that oak tree, and it was sticking out on both sides. That's some kind of power
it really
to be able to drive a piece of light aluminum pipe.
It really is. And I know one other thing, when I remind you, you'll remember it, pieces of clothing all up in the trees. Now,
sure.
Obviously, that could have been nobody wearing the clothing, but it's still ominous to think that there were people up there drowning.
And the crowd lost in that hurricane party at the motel.
Oh, yeah. But we've learned a lot, and it's really amazing in a lot of these hurricanes that so few lives are lost. Ray Nagin obviously was corrupt. He seemed to be half crazy, and I don't know that he was responsible for any of this at all, but the evacuation of New Orleans was really successful to get that many people out of harm's way. Most of the people that stayed were people that wanted to stay. I hadn't seen many people that I just couldn't get out.
One scene stuck in my mind was seeing a fleet of city buses sitting in
school
water.
Buses. It was these were 1,000 of them.
Yeah, but not only school buses, but city buses, and all they had to do is tell a driver, take this bus to your neighborhood, fill it up with people, and get out of town.
Yeah, or just
we'll
take
worry
it to high
about
ground.
it later. Yeah.
I saw the same thing after one of our hurricanes. It was in the newspaper, when we had a newspaper, of about 100 postal vehicles down there, with water up to their hoods. And
if you've got to evacuate, do whatever will roll.
Well, what it goes to is people have gotten so used to not thinking for themselves, to wait until there's an evacuation order. Hey, you need to decide your area. You know it best whether it's dangerous to stay there, whether your house is not constructed well, or whether you just don't want to put up with the hassle. And don't wait till the last minute. Plan a vacation. You don't have to go to the Evergreen, Alabama. You can go to, Atlanta. You can go to Nashville. You can go to a lot of nice places and vacation.
Ran into a young man in Bruton working in a grocery store, and he was saying for the people down here on the coast, he said, when you come north on 31, remember that US 80 goes east-west.
It does, into Mississippi.
And it's a good highway.
That's
and
why
a lot
the
of
drug
people,
traffickers use
well,
it.
probably, but a lot of people don't even notice it's there.
No, it is. It runs from Waynesboro to Grove Hill over to Montgomery.
And once you get into Mississippi, it's 4-lane because they got all that casino
gambling money.
Yeah.
While we're at it, I'll give y'all I'm giving kind of some hurricane reminders or just general safety reminders. You can see this on Facebook, or I'll describe it. It's just one of these fairly cheap flashlights. You can buy 3 to a packet in Sam's, Costco.
That's at about 3 inches long.
Northern 2. Yeah. And it's actually got LEDs. The good thing about it is it takes the AAA batteries, which aren't the real expensive ones.
Right.
But the reason for the luminescent tape, remember that was really big back in the Green Ghost days, is so it'll show up, and I've got a kind of pink nylon string that I use to mark off stuff in the woods. But I try to have one of these in every room hanging on a nail. So if you're there during a power outage or, God forbid, a home invasion or something like that, you can find that flashlight, because we've talked about a clever burglar might cut your power off or attempt to, and that's a very terrifying thing. We're going to step into a break in a minute, but I want to remind you all, one of our sponsors is my friend Steve Moore, who is a lawyer, went to school with me, and he's one of the sponsors of the show. He does personal injury litigation. He's located in Mobile, downtown at 8 North Dearborn, and that's between Dolphin and St. Francis Street. If you need the services of a personal injury attorney, don't hesitate to call him. Friendly member will talk to you. And remember, he's located in Mobile. A lot of numbers you call appear to be a local number, but they're not. You can see them on the internet at www.more, M-O-O-R-E, law firm, that's all one word, -al.com, or give them a call at, let's see. Actually,
does he have a specialty area?
It's generally anything to do with tort litigation.
Okay.
Car accidents, industrial accidents, where you're hurt and you think someone else is negligent because of that.
Yeah.
So give Steve or his nephew a call and visit them on the web. He's a good guy. But remember that no representation is made that the quality of legal services provided is greater than the quality of legal services to be provided by other attorneys. And that's the same in every profession. It's hard if you need a new dentist or something like that to pick one. We'll be back right after the break with more of Armed Alabama.
Give us a call.
This program is a production of Armed Alabama, LLC. The comments and views of the hosts are those of Armed Alabama, LLC, for which it is solely responsible. The view and comments of the callers, guests, and texters do not necessarily represent the views of the sponsors or advertisers of Armed Alabama, LLC, or of Armed Alabama, LLC, Bigler Broadcasting, LLC, FM Talk 1065, or WAVH. No comments from Judge Rusty Johnston should be taken as legal advice, but as educational information. Judge Johnston is not engaged in the practice of law and should not be sought out to answer legal questions off the air. Seek legal advice from a qualified attorney who knows the complete specifics of your legal matter.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people.
I tell you, I'm a pretty good drummer, aren't I?
Yeah,
This is Judge Rusty Johnston.
I was impressed.
Back with Armed Alabama. Want to thank Hanson Heating and Air and Mike Ward Liberty Safes. Boy, you need your air conditioning this time of year, not only for your own health, but the health of your firearms. And Liberty Safe, if you ever have to evacuate, they're not only for guns. You can put jewelry or you have a stamp collection or whatever valuable in there. Now, if you're in an area that's prone to flooding, because I happened to a friend of mine, there are holes in the bottom of the safe. You need to either bolt your safe to the floor and put some silicone or something waterproof around those holes, because what happened to him, his guns all survived. He was down near Nancy's restaurant, but unfortunately the safe filled up, or at least got a lot of salt water in it, and it wasn't gotten to for probably 2 weeks.
That's when Nancy's went away, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. If you all, some of you all of you should be interested in the bump fire stock issue. There were almost, actually around 100,000 comments that were posted. And I just want to read one or two from the anti-gun people, and then we'll get to our caller. One of the, here is, let's see, comment. As a mother of 2 young children, an American and a human being, I am asking you to ban bump stock type devices. This country exists for the people and by the people. The people do not want these available, and we do not want to lose any more citizens to this craziness. It's a sad commentary that I'm putting all in caps. Anonymous for my last name, because I'm afraid of the gun lobbyist. That's just, oh boy, I tell you, in some of them, and I'll have to say on both sides were way off mark, but what I could observe, there were about 110,000 comments. It looked like to me about 90% against this proposal. And even if you're against bump fire stocks, you ought to be opposed to a rulemaking procedure that makes something illegal as opposed to Congress voting on it. Let's go ahead and take Tim on line 1. And remember, our number here is 251-343-0106. Tim, you're on the line.
Yes, sir. I'd like to comment on the bump stock thing that you just read. I don't have any use for them,
right.
But when you allow our Second Amendment to be changed or lessened it doesn't stop with the bump stock.
There you
and that's
go.
why there's such a big push to not allow the legislation to get them.
And, Tim, one thing to remember, in spite of the report that came out a week or two ago about Las Vegas, I'm not satisfied to any reasonable degree of certainty that the man even used bump fire stocks to shoot at that crowd. I hate to say this, with that kind of number of weapons, that kind of armament, and what he had set up, he didn't kill that many. He killed 2 people? And that's a tragedy, but more people, or as many people, have been killed with a single person with a couple of pistols.
Yeah.
So, it's all sad, but when you start basically trying to change public policy and or your Constitution because of an act of a nutcase, it's just a bad result.
And I have a fear of going into places where they've restricted guns. No guns in this building.
Yeah.
So, that just paints a target on everybody's back. I think of going to a PTA meeting where, we're in a building that does not allow guns, and there's 200 people. One guy comes in with a 15-round magazine, kills 15 people.
The Aurora shooting.
What if 50 people had guns and returned fire immediately?
Yeah, or just the fact they might have a gun might prevent. Out in Colorado at the Aurora movie theater, the shooter passed 3 other movie theaters to get to the one he went to that they allowed carrying in the movie theater.
I'll be darned.
Isn't that something?
Well, let me get to my question real quick, then. I appreciate you taking the other question.
Yep.
My wife was put in a situation. It's been a long time ago, more than 6 years. Mm-hmm. And at the time, we had 3 small boys, all under the age of 10. And there was a guy, and it turned out he was a drunk. He was at the wrong house, and he was trying to break the front door down. And she had called the police. I was on the phone with her. I had access to the cameras, and I could see what was going on, and she was wanting to shoot this guy through the door, and I convinced her not to do that, that if she had to shoot him, wait until he got the door kicked open and to wait for law enforcement. And fortunately, law enforcement got there before he actually got into the house. Mm-hmm. But I just wonder what's our due diligence here? What do we need to do before we take action to protect ourselves?
If someone... people say the only reason you don't shoot through a door is threat identification. What if it's the postman? What if it's, whatever. In your case, even though he was a drunk, we don't know that he wasn't a imminent threat to your wife. We really don't know that. But let's maybe take it a hypothetical where it was maybe an Alzheimer's patient that was confused and went to the wrong house. That's why you really want to, if possible, wait till they get inside. Now, if you got a guy with a hatchet chopping through your door, you don't need to wait. If this is subjective, it's got to be her. If he's in the process of breaking and entering, or she feels like her life, her children's life, your life, is an imminent danger, she can fire. Now, what I would tell you is come up with a plan where, and I'm going to show this on Facebook, and for others I'll describe it. This is a master lock. Several people make them. You can get this at the Ace Hardware stores. I know in Spring Hill it's about $20, $25.
It's a long pipe with adjustable length.
Yeah, and have a plan where you retreat to, let's say, the master bedroom, and put a deadbolt lock on the inside of that door, and have one of these sitting behind the door. And then if somebody gets in the house, you've retreated. And I'm not talking about this from a legal point of view. Just you knew who it was that time. It may be in the middle of the night, and you don't know who it is. And so you want to retreat to the high ground, in other words, and have the attackers come to you. And they start battering down your door. It doesn't take a lot to kick a door down, but you can be a little more accurate, have your wits together, then have all your kids with you, so you won't be concerned about the stray shot hitting somebody. The police do a great job, but generally it's going to take 5 to 8 minutes for them to get to your house. And most so-called burglaries are less time than that. Now, one good thing is a home invasion is real rare. Most burglars don't want to come into a house with somebody there, but that doesn't mean lightning hits people too. That's real rare. But I don't want to get hit by lightning. But I think she did. She wouldn't want to carry around killing someone with her the rest of her life, even though she probably would have been justified. That does a lot. I've seen a lot of police officers that really, really bothered. So you want to try to avoid that, but not at all cost, obviously.
We've changed her home protection weapon from a .380 to a Winchester 1600 pump shotgun.
Okay. Make sure she's
trained
isn't too afraid to shoot that and, have buckshot in it. A lot of people put bird shot. Once deadly force is authorized, use deadly force.
Yeah, we have just buckshot. We don't use a double-aught buck or a slug, but what she does is we've trained her to put the gun under her arm and back up against the wall and let the wall take the
yeah, that's great.
You've
mentioned something though that good camera system. I'm actually putting a new camera system in my house. Now, obviously, I'm not that handy, but if you need a camera system, you can go to Hunter Security, one of our sponsors. But a camera system enables you to see, is it the UPS guy at the door, or is it, the drunk, or is it the people casing your house, that claim they're selling stuff to clean your rug. And you can, if you can put it in yourself, you can do this for as cheap as $300. You get one camera a lot cheaper than that. But I think they're really good, and they've proven to be deterrents too to burglars.
Right.
So good for you. But check out the idea of having a safe room for your protection, because so many men, especially in the South, want to hear sound at night, grab the shotgun, and go do battle, and you may not know what you're getting into. Got to go to a break. Thank you for calling, Tim.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
We'll be back after the break with more of Armed Alabama.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
See, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. When?
Have a home security system or something like that. Get Clint Eastwood to spend the night with you, huh?
I wonder if you put a picture of him on the bedroom windows, if that would help.
Yeah, that's a good question. And, there's a constant kind of debate about whether you ought to have signs like "This home protected by Smith & Wesson." If I were, because
I'm not too fond of that.
Yeah, what if you become either prosecuted for shooting a burglar or get sued? I can't imagine that a judge would let that in as evidence of some kind of intent that, you had, this, well, it was protected, maybe it was protected by Springfield Armory instead. I don't know. But
that brings me to something we were talking about during the break, and that is that if you have a home security system, whether it's ADT or Bell South or, in our case, Comcast or Xfinity, and they give you the stickers for the windows and the doors.
Put them out.
Put them out there, because you want to,
you want a deterrent effect for the burglars.
Send the burglar to your neighbors.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, they've done studies that show that both burglar alarms and camera systems deter a large number of burglars, because most of them are lazy. They don't want to work that hard at it. Mm-hmm. And most of the time they get in and out before, there's a law in Alabama, and I'm sure most states, that if you have a monitored alarm, the security company has to call you and say, is everything all right? Well, that process right there takes 60 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to. And so they can get in and out in 3 or 4 minutes, unless they're coming to do you harm. And in that case, it's usually somebody and so you need a guard to get set. But
I love the commercial that says you're protected. Well, you're really not.
No.
If they're coming in, the guy on the telephone at the other end is no position to protect you.
The only thing that really protects you yourself, your defenses. And a burglar bars they're very expensive. You have to bar every window and door and then make sure you can escape during a fire. But that's really the only thing is actual protection. But, Charlie, 50% of household burglaries take place because a burglar comes in through an unlocked door or window.
Yeah.
And, I know people that still don't lock their doors or windows, and that's,
I have to be careful. If I use the front door of my house to go check the mail or whatever, invariably, because we use the side door most of the time, I'll forget that I came out that door and I'll go around the other way. And I'll tell you, we've woken up a couple of times the next morning and discovered our front door was unlocked all night long, you know.
Yeah, you kind of...
And it's kind of scary when you think about it.
There are people, if you have a camera system pointed at the street, there are people that kind of roam around during the night checking, especially cars and driveways and such, but also doors. And, racking a shotgun isn't going to scare them away, because that takes the mentality of someone who's kind of a thinking being that understands risk and rewards. You've got somebody that's high on dope or is craving dope and kicks in your front door. He's not really thinking real clear anyway, because...
And going back to your protected by Smith & Wesson,
yeah.
If some burglar is looking for guns, you've just announced to the world that, hey, we got guns in here.
That's the other argument. But it cuts both ways. The burglar says, oh, man, this must be somebody that carries a gun, has a gun ready. Mm-hmm. Better avoid that. Or no cars there. Hey, maybe he's got a big gun collection.
What if I said, and this is trying to be funny, but what if I said, forget the guns, my wife is on the prowl?
They might let that go to the jury. Charlie, while we're at it here, and that's an advertisement for everybody, because I don't know where I got them or what the name is, but when I practiced law, I had a case one time where I represented a safety eyeglass company. Mm-hmm. And after that, I started wearing them not just when I was shooting, but mowing the yard, using a saw, everything. But they're made now, and this is probably $12, but this is bifocals. It has like a 2 diopter in there or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can see right down there.
Oh, yeah.
And there are a lot of people when they get, 50-ish, they have, bifocals. And that does it. You can pick up those glasses, plus they're protecting your eyes. A lot of people that wear prescriptions, they'll wear their regular glasses, but the regular glasses aren't as hard as these. I learned when I represented the eyeglass company that I can't remember the number, but they pull 1 out of X, let's say 100 out, and they do a drop ball test on it to make sure that they all work. Of course, then we were being sued saying, well, you should have tested every one of them.
Well, you
Problem
can't
is,
do that.
When you test every one, it weakens them. So you've got to kind of watch that.
You just want to test a random sample from each
you do.
batch.
Make sure your polycarbonate is the right, mixed right or whatever. It doesn't have any kind of defect in it.
Before we get away from home defense, the other question I was asking was about doors.
Yep.
And in my particular house, we have, but if we're in our master bedroom at night, there's 2 doors to go through the bathroom.
Yep.
And the main hall, there are 2 doors. Do you think it's a better idea to lock all 4 of those doors at night once we've retired to the bedroom?
Yes, and I'm going to say that from the standpoint of I obviously never locked my bedroom doors or anything, but do now.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take it's just more noise someone's going to have to make. If let's say you do forget to lock your front door. Well, they're in your house, but they've got to get through those doors.
Gives you a few seconds to get
it does.
your
Anything
weapon.
you do. And if you're putting new, if you're getting your house remodeled, think about putting an exterior type door, a heavy wood, or even if your wife will let you do it, a steel door on your bedroom. One thing you can do is just put 3 hinges on the bedroom door. Interior doors have 2 hinges.
Yep.
And they're in there with like a 1 3/4 inch screws. Go ahead and put 2.5, 3-inch screws. They'll go into the 2x4, whatever's in there. And then, like I said, put one of the deadbolts where you just lock it with your hand on your inside. Now, that's going to really stiffen that door up a good bit. So you want to avoid that. Now,
you're buying time is what you're doing.
Right. Now, home protection weapons here, what in the world is this? This gun is only 7-8 years old, but it's an old design. This is a Ruger Mini 14, and it shoots .223, 5.56.
And it's not a very long gun.
Oh, it's not. It was kind of modeled on the M1 carbine and M14. Now, I don't think, maybe I'll shoot the camera and it's obviously unloaded. We have our chamber flare, but I have a green laser pointer on it, and there we go. What's the reason for the green? Well, green is a lot easier to see in daylight.
I have trouble seeing red in daylight.
A lot of people do. And the only reason I like a gun like this instead of a shotgun is most people never practice with a shotgun, and it creates such a recoil. Now, there are things you can do to manage that, like a limb saver, recoil pads. There are some shock-absorbing stocks that aren't real expensive, but you can get a high-point 9mm carbine for $300, and it's going to be shorter than this gun, and it's like shooting a pistol but with a carbine. And so remember, we've showed posters in here. At 20 feet, a shotgun spread pattern is still just about 5 or 6 inches.
Yeah.
So you still got to aim.
I got to tell you, that's surprising to me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and I was in that group, feel like you get a 45-degree spread of buckshot, and that's not true.
Yeah, and that you have the kind of the ultimate protection there. And they also think you're protected by that racking old wives' tale. Last thing you want to be doing when somebody's rushing in your house is trying to get your shotgun loaded.
I don't even want them to know where I am.
Well, that's right. And you're just saying, I'm in here with an unloaded weapon, unloaded shotgun. So just avoid that. But get out and practice it if you want to go shotgun. And if it's in your home, 18 inches is the shortest limit on your barrel length, the shotgun. Try to get one in that range as opposed to your hunting shotgun, which may be 30 inches, have a 30-inch barrel, and that's really a long gun. Before we step into the break, I want to remind everybody our phone number here is 251-343-0106. We're here at FM Talk, and I want to thank also Justin Foster, chiropractor, who's on 4400 Rangeline Road in Mobile. He's one of our sponsors. I mentioned Moffitt. We mentioned the Ace stores at Spring Hill, Creola, and Moffitt Road. You can pick up one of those Master Lock door bars there. I can't think of what they're called offhand. Also want to thank the law office of Matt Green. I want to thank Hunter Security. As I said, if you're thinking, first thing you want to do is get your front door strong. Mm-hmm. And, if you're putting a new front door in, this is very unfriendly. My wife would say don't do it. The feng shui people, whatever it is, would say don't do it. Get a door installed that opens outward, because it takes a lot more force to push that door, kick it in. You're supposed to have one that opens inward because you're welcoming people. Try to avoid doors with glass in them, or like I have, side lights.
If my house is on fire, I don't want to have to pull a door inward to get out.
Public buildings, as you know, have doors that have to open outward in case there's a crowd of people pushing up against the door.
Except this radio station.
Well, they're opening in. I would bet those, with the power went out, you pushed them out. Outwards. But think about your side lights, covering them with 1/4-inch Lexan. It's like plexiglass. You can shoot through it, but you can't break it unless you take a hammer to it, and that's going to wake people up. You don't want people just breaking glass and open in. We have a few more minutes left at the show. We'll step into a break, so if you want to call us, 251-343-0106.
Got a lot.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I like you, Philip. But be assured, bite my hand, and I will put you down. Your division is in charge of native crime. Or would you rather I was in charge of native crime? I don't think you'd like my methods.
Oh, I might like his methods. Before we go to our callers, I want to thank the law office of Steve Moore, personal injury attorney. If you get hurt and you think somebody's at fault, visit the Moore Law Firm. They're at 8 North Dearborn Street, or you can visit them on the web at www.moorelawfirm, that's all one word, .al.com. And he's locally owned. Local guy, went to school with me, good man, good Mobilian. Let's take David, who is number one on the line. How you doing, David?
Hey, Judge, I just wanted to make a recommendation real quickly if for securing your home or protecting your home, and that is if you're a dog lover, get you a big dog. It doesn't have to be a violent or aggressive dog. As a matter of fact, I would recommend against that because there's liability issues, as you well know.
That barking, I mean, we had a little Pomeranian for years, and, they couldn't really hurt a fly, but they're so aggressive acting that if somebody stepped off the street onto the sidewalk, 30 feet from my house, 40 feet, the minute they hit the sidewalk, that dog would...
I want to jump in on that. I've got 2 Chihuahuas.
Okay.
Every time a leaf falls off a tree, they bark.
Yeah.
But they actually chased a guy out of my yard because he didn't see them until they come roaring around the building, 5 pounds of dynamite and 10 pounds, and he scaled the gate on my chain link fence with these 2 little yappers behind him.
No, David, that is you're absolutely right.
I have an 80-pound Weimaraner.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't hurt a fly even if you wanted to. But he's a big dog. He's fast, and he's got that deep, loud bark.
And his hearing is so much better.
Property, they would run because they wouldn't know that he wasn't going to hurt them.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, David, have you seen the TV commercial where the 2 guys are breaking into the house and the dog comes up there and they freeze, and then the dog drops a ball? He wants them to play with him.
Yeah, I've seen that commercial, but that would not be my dog because my Weimaraner would actually want to jump on the intruders in the house, not to harm them, but to lick their face.
There you go.
But they don't know that. But you're right. Thank you, David. That's a great thought. Ken and Sims is on the line.
Hey, Judge.
Hey, Ken.
Johnny, how y'all doing?
Fine.
Doing
How about
good.
you?
Doing great, man. Judge, you and I spoke probably earlier this year or late last year.
Yeah.
I've got a product that reinforces your door jamb.
Right.
And we need to get together and let me see about helping with some sponsorship on your program or something.
Yeah, that was right. It's when I brought out the Master Lock, and your product looks good. Why don't you? I'm going to put you on hold, and I'm going to give Philip my phone number, and give me a call. Tomorrow or after that, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, that sounds great.
That'd be great. Hold on just a second. Don't hang up.
It'd be a great service.
Yes, sir.
Phil, I'm going to put you on hold. Hang on. Philip, you want to pick up 2? And let's go over to Daryl in Bond Secure, who wants to talk home defense also. Good evening, Daryl. How are you?
Good evening, John. I'm doing well.
Hey, Daryl.
Everybody seems to get hung on calibers.
Your cell is dropping out.
Everybody seems to get hung up on calibers and probably size of the.
Now?
Right.
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, it seems like everybody seems to get hung up on calibers when it comes to home defense and everything. And one of the main things that people seem to forget is the adrenaline rush that is going to happen if the unthinkable does happen.
Right.
And when that does happen, sending the maximum amount of lead downrange to be effective on target, the caliber, in my opinion, and through the courses I've taken through military and other things, a 22 caliber that has the firepower, the capacity, the magazine capacity to send the lead downrange.
While we're talking about a Ruger, that Ruger 1022,
exactly.
Very popular gun. You can get it with a 20 or 30 round magazine, and somebody that's not around guns or doesn't shoot guns all the time is not frightened by a 22 long rifle.
Bingo.
I got my old secretary. One of the stores had a big sale on those AR-15 type 22s. Mm-hmm. Same thing. And the best gun's the one you're going to use and not afraid to use. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, Ronald Reagan was almost killed with a 22.
Yeah, absolutely. People forget that. You're right. They get all hung up, and then once they decide on a caliber, well, I can get a plus P with this, or I can get this kind of, you're better off practicing hitting the target than worrying with all of that stuff.
Exactly, and that's where I'm getting at. People just seem to get hung up on, oh, well, I'm going to get a 10 millimeter, or I'm going to get a 40, or I'm going to get this 9. Or
right.
Well, when push comes to shove, the muzzle rise on rapid fire, even on a 22.
Yep.
You're going to get muzzle rise.
Yeah, that's why I like the idea of pistol caliber carbines for somebody that's not a real big gun person, doesn't want to carry, but is home defense. There are a lot of them out there, but you can get them in the 30-inch range, which is a lot easier to fool with than a 42-inch shotgun, and it doesn't give you any much recoil and not a lot of noise either.
There you go.
Yeah,
all right,
appreciate
it. Was a great show tonight. I just wanted to weigh in on that.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you, Daryl. They used to say, you too. Did you say in the Army that a pistol was used to fight your way to your rifle? And it is amazing. People do get there's a certain number of people when they are shot, even in the most minor way, like with the 22, something that doesn't harm them, they wouldn't even have to have a stitch. They fall down. And they've done studies on it, and so there's a deterrent effect from just shooting at somebody. You don't want to rely on that.
Yeah.
But, there's something. So, just hitting somebody, that's what you got to do. Don't get all worried. I've heard people before, you're going to die with that 9mm. It's all shot placement. And the 9mm, I carry a kind of a heavy gun because I don't like the recoil. Lighter guns give you more recoil. We're almost at the end of the hour. I want to remind you, go to our webpage, www.armedalabama.com. I want to thank all of our sponsors, each and every one of them, for this wonderful show, and also Buck Allen. I want to remind you that we're on every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on this station.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends and family. And we've also got archives of the show on the webpage. Remember to like the Facebook page. That is Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 1065. And listen to FM Talk 1065 for all the good news. And it won't be fake news here. It'll be real news. A lot of good lineup of shows here. The conservative talk shows are on this channel, which are becoming harder to find because of this corporate censorship that we have going on. We'll talk about that another week. I think those people ought to play by the rules that the utilities have had to for a long time. But,
Judge, it's always a pleasure to share the hour with you.
Well, same here.
And we miss Adam. We assume he'll be back from assignment next week.
And if you want to look at the bump fire stock comments, just put ATF bump fire stock comments, and you get the federal regulation site. We'll see you next week on Armed Alabama.